What's going on, everyone? So, JJ Redick, right? Like, I believe he's going to be the head coach. I said it even when the Dan Hurley news came out that, my money is on JJ Redick being the head coach. I said I didn't believe that Dan Hurley was going to come to the Lakers. I thought he was going to stay in UConn. I thought UConn would give him and pay him, right? I didn't think he'd walk away from the legacy and all that stuff. And guess what? He did it, right? Like, all the reasons that I said he would stay with UConn, Woj came out and said all the same things that I said about why he would stay with UConn or why he chose to stay with UConn, right? And when I look at JJ Redick, he doesn't have those obstacles that these other coaches, like, Jay Wright now and all this, like, there's obstacles in the way that make no sense for these people. Right? Like, Jay, he's comfortable, he's happy, he's making good money commentating. He's older. He gets peace. He doesn't have to deal with all the chaos that goes with head coaching and all the preparation. He just shows up, puts on a mic, kicks back, talks about the player, and he goes home and just living his best life. Somebody like JJ, he has the itch, the clear itch, right? He's commentating on the NBA Finals. And you watch the podcast and he talks about how he wants to be closer to the game and, he has this itch and all these things. It's like, it's clear, right? Like, he's not making so much money from ESPN that it's like, oh man, it's just like that. No, he understands the lifestyle that comes with Los Angeles, which is something that I talked about with Dan Hurley. It's a big culture shift going from Connecticut to Los Angeles. Right, and dealing with the taxes and the traffic and just the completely just fast-pacedness rather than just being able to just chill and have peace and quiet and tranquility and all these things. Right? Well, JJ Redick, he lived it. Right? He was on the Clippers. He understands the taxes. He understands what comes with it. He understands the lifestyle. He understands he's young enough to value it and appreciate it and enjoy the just kind of chaos that comes with it, right? The beach and the nightlife and all those things, right? Like, and again, he's not some single bachelor that's out just running through tail. Like, no, it's not that, but he's still young enough to where it's like, okay, I can still enjoy some of these things, right? With my significant other, with these things. Like, I understand what goes with it. I have the itch to be the Lakers head coach. And again, JJ has never been a head coach on any level. Right? Which is an inherent risk, right? Of course. It is a risk. It is a big risk. And who knows what it'll work out? I don't know. I think JJ Redick will be fine. I think he has the basketball mind. I'm not really worried about the on-court stuff, right? Like, I'm not worried about the X's and O's. I'm not worried about, him figuring things out. Like, it's more so just everything else that comes with the head coach, right? Because you got to deal with egos and management and, agents and, you got to do film rooms and training sessions. You got to do all this stuff. You got to evaluate talent. There's a lot that goes into it besides just getting on the court. Here's the whiteboard. Let me draw up a play. Let me call a timeout, right? There's a lot to head coaching than just that. The back end stuff is the stuff that I kind of worry about. But the on-court execution, I'm not really that worried about JJ Redick. I think he'll do a good job. And I also think his inexperience is something that can be a benefit because he's not set in his ways, right? Like something I talked about with Darvin Ham, which, by the way, he went back to Milwaukee to be the assistant, which I find funny. And it was funny kind of scrolling through some Milwaukee fan stuff. And they're like, no, what are we doing? It's I don't know. I just thought it was kind of funny. But you saw with Darvin Ham, right? As long as he was in his box, he looked great, right? Even in the playoff run where we went to the conference finals, the first two rounds against the Grizzlies and the Golden State Warriors, he was able to stay in his frame. As soon as he has to get out of that, that's where everything starts to crumble. He got in the Denver series, he had to get out of it, boom, it starts to crumble. There's also, one of the big problems with Darvin Ham was the commitment to preparation, right? That was a real thing. He's not prepared. He doesn't really take the time to prepare. He kind of just goes out there and almost he wings it, right? There's things to that where I think JJ Redick will be prepared. I think he will be relentless in that regard. He is a competitor. He is he is a former player that, valued the preparation and wanted to go into the things and, was a big fan of the X's and O's and stuff like that. I think all those things will translate well to him being a head coach. I think he won't have to stay in a box. I think because he's not set in his ways and he only knows what he knows, right, from being taught, like Darvin Ham, again, he only knew Bud's system. Right? So as soon as Bud's system wasn't working, that was it. That's the end of his scope. Where JJ understands different schemes, different offensive flows, right? So it's like, okay, let's go this way. It's not working. Let's go back this way. That's not working either. Let's kind of go here. No, let's try back this way. Well, maybe like right here. Oh, here it is. This is the one. Right? Like, I think that adaptation will go a long way, and his ability to kind of be chameleon-like. Right? I do think somebody like Dan, again, it's very similar in that mold. Right? Like, he has his offensive philosophies, he has his offensive systems, but if you're familiar with Dan, you're familiar with like kind of the way, like that changes even just slightly, almost game to game at times, right? Sometimes even in the game, right? Like they'll be going this way and then like in the game, just kind of slight this way. And it's like just enough for you to like, so I did think that Dan would translate great and I thought he would do a real good job, but even he was a huge risk. And it's like the Lakers, let's say the Lakers give him 10 years, $150 million. What happens if it doesn't work after year 3, 4, 5? Right? At least JJ, you probably don't have to give him the bag. You kind of still have the same level of upside. I think Dan would have had, I think the upside with Dan was potentially greater because I don't think, maybe not so much from a head coaching standpoint, because I do still think JJ could be one of the better coaches in the NBA. Again, I don't know. We'll see. But with Dan, I think culturally, right? I think that the upside as far as like the entire Laker organization was much more higher, right? Like, there's only so many different ways that you can, based on your personnel and talent, only so many different ways that you can be a coach, right? Like when you're talking about coaching, like there's only so many levels you can reach as far as the coaching, pedigree goes, right? So, I mean, technically the upside for both is the same. I mean, you can make that argument for any head coach, but with Dan, I think that from, again, a cultural standpoint and the process to adapt to the CBA and things like that, I think that would have gone a lot more and been just a bigger upside scale than with JJ, where I just think the coaching acclimate part of it, right? Like that is where I think he'll be fine. He'll thrive. He'll have his success. But like, again, like there's still the risk of like, if it doesn't work, now you're stuck. Where JJ, you can give him, a 5-year deal or whatever for probably, you probably give him 5 years, $25 million, or 4 years, $20 million, something like that. Because again, it's like, dude, you're the first year head coach. Or give him a small deal as like a prove it, right? We'll give you like 3 years, $15 million, right? And then after that, if it works out, we'll re-up you. Where now, if it doesn't work after a couple, you can just get rid of him and have a James Borrego step up, or maybe Dan is like, okay, I'm finally ready to make the jump to the NBA, and you can get rid of JJ and throw him in, right? Like it gives you more flexibility for worst case scenario, right? Where I think with Dan, the only way you're really going to get him is to pay him an insane bag, because I don't think it was necessarily about the money, right? I don't. I mean, and based on the reports, it wasn't about the money, right? But there is a point where it's like, it's so much money. It's like, how do you say no to that, right? Like, I think that would have been the only way to really pry him from UConn. It's like, you give him, like I said, something crazy, like 10 years, $15 million a year, $150 million total, right? Now it's like, man, like I got the longevity, I got the security, even post LeBron and AD, so just kind of get through that era. And then now, now I can kind of do what I want to do type thing. Right? Like that would have, I think, been different. But again, there's so much risk that goes into that, where you can mitigate some of that risk with a guy like JJ. And yes, again, maybe the entire just structure of the organization might not be as good, but the coaching, acumen might be on par, right? Like that's kind of where I like that. And I just think it's going to be JJ. Right? And look, the Lakers, maybe they surprised. Maybe it is James Borrego, right? There's reports kind of going around that players aren't super high on JJ. Like, which players, right? Because we know LeBron's high on JJ. Is it Anthony Davis? Because if it's Anthony Davis, then, yeah, that might change things. But if it's like Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura and stuff like that. Like those guys might end up being traded this offseason. So I don't like, and I don't think that they have as much weight and pool as, say again an Anthony. But if AD's, because there's talks that AD wants James Borrego, but also like they talk about like how there's this connection. Like there can't be this huge connection because they kind of like were in passing. Right? Like they didn't. It wasn't like he was there with Anthony Davis for 5 years and they really built this, just relationship and stuff. Like they were kind of like, oh hey, how you doing? Yeah, okay, cool. Right? Like it went different directions. Right? Like so, I don't know. I mean, again, we'll see. For months now we've heard it's JJ, it's JJ, it's JJ. I mean, JJ Redick himself is like doing an interview and is like, yeah, basically confirmed he's going to be the head coach. Like I just. We got reports that it's basically JJ's job to lose and all that stuff, right? And it's like, I just think that that's accurate, right? How do you go from that to that? And people are like, oh, well, Woj said it. Woj is wrong all the time, right? I think that's what I was trying to like get through to people. Like people were like, yeah, but Woj. Like, how often is Woj right about the Lakers, right? Like he's a known LeBron and Laker hater. Right? Like, so again, he's wrong all the time about the Lakers, right? But, well, and I understand Woj has this like prestige to him, but still, it's like, I'm old enough to remember the numerous times, even in the last few years, he's been wrong about stuff, right? So it's like, again, it's just, we've had so many reputable people go, it's JJ, it's JJ, it's JJ. And then Dan Hurley comes out of left field and it's like, oh no, it's Dan Hurley. It's like, I don't doubt that the Lakers wanted him. I don't doubt that Dan Hurley was interested. It seemed like the right coach at the wrong time. Where JJ, I think, is the right coach at the right time. And it's like, okay, go get him. So, I don't know. We'll see. Again, could be wrong. Been wrong before. Very likely will be wrong again at some point. But, I'm betting 1,000 so far. Hopefully this offseason keeps going strong for me. But we'll see. Anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you think, like, yeah, it's going to be JJ? Like, let's be real, let's be honest. Do you think, no, like, James Borrego, somebody else, whomever? Again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot, so we enjoy these types of videos. I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.